No, this is going to be a lot of fun. Let's just dive right in. What inspired you to choose a career in marketing? Why not like sales or a different career path?
Okay, so this is going to be a reference for all of your older viewers. So when I was a teenager, there was a show called I think it was called Who's the Boss? And it was a show about a woman who was an executive advertising agent, like president. Her mom lived with her, and she had a male housekeeper, and she drove a Jaguar, and that was my dream. I was going to be that woman. So I decided I was always going to go out and do something in marketing or advertising. Originally, it was advertising, and went right to school. Knew I was going to do something in those fields. And a wise person told me I was going down the path of advertising, and he said, "Don't do advertising because you won't get paid well. Go get a business degree and do marketing. It's almost the same, but you'll have more fun. You'll get paid better." Great advice. That's what I did. And here we are today.
It's funny that, you watched a woman with a Jaguar, and that's marketing to you,
Exactly.
which hooked you.
Exactly. And it's kind of funny. If you think back, I've talked to quite a few people. I think we were all highly influenced to do our careers through something in TV. For some reason, we were all highly influenced in TV, like, oh, I want to be that when I grow up.
Totally.
So I stuck with it.
And did you ever consider sales? And the reason why I bring up sales is usually marketing and sales, they kind of are very close. They go hand in hand.
Yeah. It's funny you should ask. Yeah, I did think about like, hey, I put it like this. I should do some time in sales
Right.
because I think it's really important for marketing to understand what salespeople live through, to maybe be a better marketer, not so much
Right.
because I wanted to be a salesperson. I think the job of sales is really hard, and you have to be somebody who's open to risk and
Totally.
not being paid if you don't do your job well. And
That's
I wasn't
true.
open to that.
Yeah, me neither. I was not open to that either.
I would like to be paid no matter what.
Exactly. Now, you've worked for big named companies here in Silicon Valley as a director of marketing and also as a VP of marketing from Hewlett-Packard, ServiceNow to Druva and GitHub. How did you work your way up the ladder?
Ooh, that's a great question. I've definitely seen people who have been gifted the gift of an executive position without actually kind of working their way through the process. And, you see through those people, right? Because you understand that they don't get it. They don't understand what it takes to get things done. And so my philosophy has always been to be a broad marketer, to have every tool set in the bench on my bench, right? So I didn't want to just be an expert at one thing. I wanted to understand all the things because, again, I feel there's empathy. If you can understand what product marketing is going through, you can be a better demand gen person and vice versa. So my philosophy has always been to understand all the things to make me a better leader as I moved up into the stack. And I think it's worked. I mean, it helps me understand how to run the whole business, not just part of the business when I'm in charge of the marketing groups.
That's awesome. Did you ever feel disadvantaged in your investment as a woman?
So that's a good question. So I have a funny story. The only time I really have ever felt disadvantaged, and this is early in my career, this is probably almost 20 years ago, when I had my first child. So I went out on maternity leave, and I remember coming back, and the VP of my organization, and again, I was a manager at that time, pretty entry level role. And I had come back from maternity leave. And before I left for maternity leave, I had trained a guy who didn't have a master's degree in business like I have. He had a law degree, but was looking for a job in marketing. Why, I don't know. So I trained him to do my job essentially while I was on maternity leave for 6 weeks. And when I came back, my VP had said, I thought about it. I have a great idea. Why don't we go ahead and make him your manager and you can work with him? Right. And, I stood there and I said, well, that makes no sense to me because last time I checked, I have a master's degree in business and we're standing in a business, not a law firm. So I understand how to do this job. I trained him how to do this job. So why would he be my manager and I wouldn't be his manager? Right. And I fought that fight for a good solid whatever couple weeks, and he finally decided that he still wanted to go that direction. And so I decided I'm not going to stand for this, and I left.
Mm,
So I was able to find a role in another part of the organization that valued what I brought to the table, because I had shown, I was good at the job that I did. And they took me into another organization, so I didn't have to be part of that VP or any of his antics. So that was a
right.
really horrible experience.
That's a, yeah, I would have left. I think you did the right thing.
Yeah,
It does put women in a difficult position too, right? That want to have kids,
yeah. Well,
because when they go on maternity leave, I mean, that's a big gap in your resume, right?
yeah. Well, it is. And the thing, when I asked him, I don't understand why you're doing this. This makes no sense to me. Like like logically makes no sense. And his
Right.
response to me was, "Well, you just had a baby. You're going to probably want to spend time with the baby." And I thought,
Oh, that was the assumption.
yeah, I'm like, I'm working 40 hours a week, if not more. Like, I don't understand. I didn't say I want to stay home. I'm like, what are you talking about? So that was his
Mhm.
assumption, that I was going to want to go be a mom instead.
Which I'm sure a lot of men make that assumption.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I get it because I'm a man and I understand how men think. So,
Yeah.
yes,
So it was just, it was frustrating because, again, yes, I had a baby, but I also had gotten a master's degree. So, like, okay, well then why did I go do that if I wasn't going to, continue to be a
right,
professional in my field?
right. I mean, I would have just plugged you in right from where you left off.
Yeah. So it's stuff like that. Yeah, that can be pretty frustrating.
Yeah. Did you have any other examples, or was that just the only one?
Oh, I'm sure there's others, but that's the one that comes to mind that I think is stuck with me the most. That was the most, like, I can't believe that. Like, I should have
Right.
even thought harder, right? I probably should have gone to HR and had a conversation with them about how I felt, but I didn't. I
Totally.
fought the battle myself, and then I just left when it didn't go my way.
And you're saying the right thing to do, if you had to do it all over again, would go to HR about it?
I probably would have gone to HR about it, and maybe even my VP's boss, to let him know, like, I don't
Right.
understand why this is and why these decisions are being made. I need to understand this. So,
Mm,
maybe I would have fought a little harder, but
totally. And I'm sure a lot of women can relate to this example. And thank you for sharing,
sure.
because that does happen in the workplace, and it's not fair. It's not fair, and that's not right. That's why I was shocked when you said that. I was like, "Wow!" But it does happen.
It does happen.
Yes, for a lot of reasons why it happens. Now, for all the experiences with all these companies that you work for, which experience helped grow you the most professionally, and why?
So I think the one that's grown me the most is actually really, really early in my career. I had worked for a company that was it was an Israeli company,
Mhm.
and again, one of my first, like, kind of real jobs. And I just remember, like, it. I think the thing that made it so impactful to me was, you're doing everything, right? Like, because you're so new and you're so junior, they're giving you every aspect, like, hey, build a database and go do this. And so you're just getting so
Mm,
much experience in, like, all the different aspects of it. And then,
right,
then you're able to also see, like, oh, that's what that person does. And, oh, I like what that person's doing. I'd like to do that someday, right? So, like, the world is your oyster when you first start working, right? Like,
right.
everything is possible, and you have no place but to go but up, right? So so I think that was the most impactful, because there was just so much learning opportunity and so much growth and so much excitement about, like,
Mm,
where your career is going to go when you're early on. So, for all those young people listening to your session, savor those years, because they're good years.
right. When we worked, changing a little bit, maybe a
Yep.
little tangent. When we worked together at Druva, you were a VP of marketing at Druva, and I wanted to really ask, what prompted you to look for outsourced website development as a VP of marketing?
Well, as you know, Jesus, that website was a hot mess.
Yes.
So when I was at Druva, I ran corporate marketing, and the website was part of my charter for that. And I remember when I first walked in, the guy that ran the website part-time essentially said, every time I change something, it takes us like 2 weeks because we have to recode everything. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Why would it take you like, in this day and age, nothing should take you 2 weeks.
Right.
So I was like, that makes no sense at all. And so, I realized like, there's something wrong with our site, right? I think I reached out to you and said, hey, can you take a look? And you were like, yeah, this is like a ball of yarn with 1,000 knots in it. Like, he's right. Every time you have to code something, you have to recode something.
Right.
And everything's connected to something else. And so if you code here, you might break that. So
it was just tangled wires. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. And it was, and we did have some of those situations before you guys where it's like we changed the homepage banner, but then like the news page vanished, right? It was like weird things. And so, we didn't have the resources inside the company. And, we needed it done quickly. I knew, you guys were going to be able to come in and like just rebuild the whole thing, like with straight pieces of yarn, not tangled pieces of yarn.
Yes.
And let's get to a place where it should take, 2 minutes to make a change on the website, not 2 weeks.
Right.
And so, that was, trust me, that was one of the biggest accomplishments that we got done there was we finally had a website that we could dynamically change. And literally after you guys had built that, we had started like running programs where we had like countdown clocks where we'd, be launching a live event at 9 a.m. We would have to change over a bunch of pages at 9 a.m. Like we could never have done that if we had the old website.
Right.
So,
that's good to know, because that's usually a question that I'm curious about knowing is what prompts, director of marketing or VP of marketing, even a CMO, to start looking for outsourced website development. So thank you for answering that. That really helps. And also those that are listening to this episode, they can relate. There's something that should take 5 minutes to do on a website takes them an hour because they have unnecessary steps because it's so dated, and they've gone through many developers and they're like, who's the developer in charge of this? Who wrote this code?
Oh, he left like 3 years ago.
He left 3 years ago. Do we have the login credentials? What?
Yes. I've experienced all of that.
Exactly. So you're not alone in that.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't alone, but that's really good to know. And thanks for sharing that. Sure. Now, I see that you're an advisory board member for several companies, and you're part of the Firstboardio organization. Can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, sure. So as an advisory board member, you're not an official board member. You're an advisor to the board and an advisor to their executive staff. And so I'm doing that for a couple different companies, and it ranges from advising them on like where's the right segmentation of the market that they should go after, or what are some of the programs that they should do, or does the product really fit the need of the audience? I mean, it can be any of those things. And the great thing about it is you're advising them, so it's up to them to execute your advice. And if they don't execute your advice, you don't have to worry about it, right?
You're in a good position. You're in a good position.
You can advise them the same thing next time if they choose to listen to that. So the good news is you don't have to actually go through the execution and getting it all done. There's a team of people inside the company to do that. So after working for 20, 25 years, you get to a place where you've seen so many different things that you can just instantly spot something like, well, of course this is wrong. You guys aren't doing this, right? You should be doing this. So it's nice after working for so long to be able to be in that position. And then Firstboardio is actually this really great group of women who, led by this main woman who kind of had this brainchild. So it's a group of women that she brought together to essentially help other women get on boards, right? So her primary job is, her name's Rita Scrogan, and her company is the Triad Group, but her main goal was to do recruiting. And what she found was, a lot of times she would get asked, hey, we're looking for somebody to join our board, but then she wouldn't have women to choose from. And so she wouldn't be able to put women in front of these people. And so she, built this kind of as a platform for having lots of women to choose from, great women to choose from. So when she gets asked by executives or VCs, we need board members, she's got all these great women that she can put in front of these board members.
I love it.
And so it's been really great because, all of these women are executives mostly in the Bay Area. There's some throughout the United States, but most of them are in the Bay Area. And it's a wide variety, right? Whether it's operations or security or finance or marketing. I mean, it's everything.
Right.
And so, now we're all working together to figure out how do we go out and spread the word to other VCs, to other executives that this organization exists, because there is a mandate to get more women on boards, right? There needs to be more diversity on boards, whether it's a woman, whether it's a person of color, we just need more diversity because it just makes for a better board. And so here's a great organization to be able to, bring another layer of diversity to these organizations. So I'm super excited to be part of it. I'm hoping, she's really successful. We're all really successful. And, we have a goal of getting, at least a quarter of the founding members on boards to start with. And then we're going to open the doors and invite even more women in so that we can continue to grow that opportunity.
That's awesome. I love what you guys are doing. So for those that are listening and you'd like to learn more information, firstboard.io, you can visit their website to get more information about that. That is awesome. And yes, diversity matters and is big, and it helps with decision-making, brainstorming. I mean, it makes a huge, huge difference. I'm totally about that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it.
All good.
From your experience, I also wanted to ask you another question. What was the difference between being a director of marketing versus a VP of marketing? Because a lot of people usually want to know the difference between the two, but it also it depends on the company size, the industry, everything like that. But just from your experience, what's the difference?
Politics is the difference.
Really?
Yeah. I think, a group of friends of mine, we always joke that the perfect job is a director in a big company because you're not high enough to deal with the politics, but not low enough to deal with the stuff. And so it's the perfect job. I think once you get up into the VP level, you're dealing a lot more with the bureaucracy of, how teams interact with each other and do sales and marketing get along? Because that all really does depend on, does the sales VP and the marketing VP see eye to eye on goals?
That's
and
true.
how them get to those goals. And if they don't, the friction just it's all the way down into the organization, right? So I really do feel like a lot of the step between director and VP is really about relationships, strategy of those relationships, obviously, other tactical things like managing budgets and managing, larger groups of personnel. But I think the true difference is your job shifts to be a lot more about the relationship and setting strategy for your whole team and how those relationships remove the friction from that.
So would it be right to say that you enjoy director of marketing more than the VP of marketing?
Absolutely. Like I said, it's the perfect job. If you can find a director of marketing position someplace, you'll be so happy.
There you go, guys.
That's it.
Director of marketing is the best marketing position out there.
Exactly. And a lot of these big companies at director level, they kind of consider it executives. So you get the threshold of getting all the executive benefits without all the executive headache, right? So
That's good advice. That's good advice.
That job.
Speaking of advice, so we have a ton of marketing professionals that listen to this show that want to become a director of marketing or VP of marketing. Do you have any advice specifically? Maybe it's already what you said.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so here's my advice. And I tell this to my daughter who's in college. A college degree is great, and a college degree from a great college is great. But at the end of the day, I mean, I've had people who went to Harvard and have master's degrees from Harvard who work for me. So at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter where you went to school or what you studied or how good your grades were. It matters how you execute and deliver against the promise that you make to people and connecting with people. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Totally. Well, Wendy, that's great advice. Literally. That should be everyone's takeaway from this episode right there.
The truth, and I'm sticking with it.
Exactly. Well, you're awesome. Thank
Thanks.
you again for your time. Any last words?
No, just thanks for having me. This was really fun. And it was great connecting with you again.
Absolutely. I love talking with you about marketing. We can talk about that all day long.
And the horror stories of websites. I think we could do that too.
Oh, yeah. That staying up to 3 a.m. just looking at websites.
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yes. You make it a great day, okay?
Yeah, you too.